Hello, I thought you might like me to share with you some information that I found out when I was researching for a speech for Toastmasters. I needed to do a research speech, and so I researched something that is dear to my heart, which is depression, because I know of a couple of people who have suffered from depression, and because it's also considered a mental illness, which is also dear to my heart for other reasons. So anyway, I wanted to share with you the speech that I have learned for Toastmasters, and also give you a bit of perspective from my point of view as well. Most people have been told that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. And the first line of treatment is usually an antidepressant medication. But do they work? In his book, The Emperor's New Drugs, Exploding the Antidepressant Myth, Irving Kirsch, who analysed all of the antidepressant drug trials, says that any improved effect by the real drugs over the sugar pills was caused by their side effects, allowing the patients in the trials to know which pills they were taking, thus creating an enhanced placebo effect. And it wasn't just the antidepressants which caused this enhanced effect, but any drug with side effects, including those which reduce neurotransmitter chemicals as opposed to increasing them, as antidepressants do. Chemical imbalance in the brain can no longer be considered the cause of depression. So what is? Johann Hari answered this question in his book Lost Connections, Uncovering the Real Causes of Depression and the Unexpected Solutions. Hari had been on antidepressants since the age of 18, when he realised 13 years later that they weren't really helping him. Hari found that the majority of people don't get better on antidepressants, but do suffer from weight gain, sexual dysfunction, increased risk of violent criminal behaviour, increased risk of stroke, of type 2 diabetes, and even increased risk of suicide. All of the evidence pointed to psychological and social causes of depression, which were all forms of disconnection. The first form of disconnection was from meaningful work. This was caused by the stress of enduring monotonous soul-destroying work where people feel disempowered. Hari found that this stress is reduced when the workers are listened to, or when governments provided a safety net income allowing people to work less hours or take up studies to change to more fulfilling work. The second type of disconnection is from other people. Research showed that 75% of people without friends or a supportive partner would experience depression after a severe negative life event. 75%. And that loneliness is as stressful as being punched by a stranger. This stress is in epidemic proportions. Hari realised that our society has emphasised the importance of the individual, but research shows that in order to be happy, we have to put our ego to one side and focus on the happiness of the group. When we start sliding down that slope of depression, rather than do something to heal ourselves, we have to do something for someone else. Sympathetic joy meditations, during which we feel happiness for others' good fortune, also reduce the likelihood of relapse into depression. The third type of disconnection is from meaningful values. The more materialistically motivated we become, the more depressed we become. We are teaching our children to seek happiness in all the wrong places, the latest gadget, fashion or game. The first solution here is to reduce the influence from advertising. We also need to consider what our meaningful values are. For example, if you realise that you value time with your family, it becomes obvious that you're not connecting to those values by working long hours away from them in order to attain material goals. The fourth type of disconnection is caused by childhood trauma. Research shows that for every category of traumatic experience you went through as a child, you are increasingly more likely to become depressed as an adult. Those who have gone through childhood trauma believe on some level that they deserve those experiences, and they don't feel deserving of a joyful adult life either. Researchers found that when doctors acknowledged the childhood trauma of their patients and allowed them to talk about it without judgment, there was a huge reduction in not only the incidence of depression, but of all illnesses. The fifth type of disconnection is from status and respect. In our society, with huge differences in income and status, we have created the idea that some people are of supreme importance and others are of no importance whatsoever. This doesn't just affect the people at the bottom. In a highly unequal society, everyone has to think about their status a lot, creating stressful lives for us all. The sixth type of disconnection is from the natural world. Those suffering from depression improve when moving from the city to the countryside and vice versa. Exercise reduces depression due to the hormones which are released, such as endorphins. But when the exercise is taken in nature, there is an even greater improvement. Being in the natural landscape gives us a sense of awe, a sensation which shrinks the ego. The seventh type of disconnection is from a hopeful or secure future over which we have some control. Without a hopeful future, we feel like the pain will never go away. A situation that is arising for all those working in middle classes who find themselves in the never-ending rat race with no end in sight. We need to take back control of our lives and our futures. Johann Hari is no longer taking antidepressants. He started practicing what he learned in his research. That is, to reduce his need to puff up his ego with superior status and material possessions. He has increased his ties with friends and family, begun meditating, and released trauma. He has done all of the things that he learned of in his research. But the greatest thing that he learned in his research was that it is our culture that has caused depression. So it is our culture which needs healing. With the knowledge that depression is caused by our society comes the understanding that if depression hasn't caught up with us yet, it may just be a matter of time. And that is a depressing thought. So that was the end of my speech for Toastmasters. But I had some further thoughts about disconnection. We have become disconnected, or we feel as though we've become disconnected from our Creator. And once we re-establish that connection, chances are we're less likely to become depressed.